The Pacific content for BF5 is out in the wild now, and with it, we got 4 new guns. Today though, we're going to be taking a look at the new medic gun, the Type 100. Before we start talking about performance though, check out this attention to detail. When you reload the Type 100, you get 2 different reload animations depending on if it's an empty mag or not. This isn't exactly something new, plenty of weapons have empty and not empty reload variations, but this one just caught my eye as being pretty nice. If you reload the gun with some ammo left in the mag, your character will unload the mag but keep it in their hand when they load the new one. However, if it's completely empty, your character will instead drop it on the ground straight away. It may not seem like much, but these sort of things can be lost in the blur of battle when you're just running around, shooting, having a great time. But I imagine that a lot of effort has gone into this sort of thing, so I think it's nice to show some appreciation to the animators. So, the Type 100. Well, by now you will have no doubt realised that this gun is an SMG, and it sits on the medic class as do all other SMGs. It was actually created by a man called Kiro Nambu, who was sometimes called the John Browning of Japan. He was a career officer in the Imperial Japanese Army and the founder of the Nambu Arms Manufacturing Company. And his company made the Type 100 SMG, as well as the Type 44 Arisaka carbine, the Type 99 Arisaka rifle, and many more Japanese weapons. The gun is pretty cool because it's one of the first Japanese weapons to hit the game, thanks to the addition of the Japanese army with the Pacific content. It was of course used by the Japanese army during the Second World War, and was the only Japanese submachine gun to be produced in quantity. With that being said, it took the Japanese forces quite some time to really engage with submachine guns. In 1940, the Imperial Japanese Army adopted a submachine gun called the Type 3C, which would go on to be known as the Type 100. However, at that time no major orders were placed, as there was no need for submachine guns in the tactics of the Imperial Army, and instead they focused on using the Type 99 light machine gun. And then in August 1942, the Type 100 began to be deployed, but in small numbers, under 1,000 in fact. Even then, 200 of those were converted to folding stock models that could be used by paratroopers. As the war went on, the demand for submachine guns grew, more and more every day, and by 1944 large-scale production started on the Type 100. There were actually 2 versions of the gun, the 1940 and the 1944. The early models had a much lower rate of fire, around 450, whereas the 1944 model had a rate of fire nearer to 800, which is what the version we have in the game is clearly based on. The gun was actually designed with the MP18 in mind, and if you look at it, kind of makes sense. It's also not the first time that we've seen the Type 100. We did see it in Bad Company 2, but only in the single player, and it featured in BF 1943 as well. So this is all well and good. How is the gun in game? Well, let's start with the stats. First of all, it's got a rate of fire of 720, which I think is really good for an SMG. It's definitely on the top end of the scale for rate of fire. The Suomi is at 770 and the Tommy gun is 720. And we all know how strong the Suomi is, so it's going to be tough to beat that. Of course, you can also upgrade the Suomi's rate of fire to a whopping 981 if you wanted to, which blows everything else at the moment out of the water. The biggest takeaway I had with the Type 100 though was its accuracy at medium range. I think up close the Suomi is still going to be the go-to weapon for the SMG class, but at medium range the Type 100 holds up quite well. I also found the hipfire to be really good, although I did upgrade all of the hipfire specializations, so that definitely helps. With the skill tree that I went for here, I found myself easily taking enemies down at close and medium range using a mixture of hipfire and aimed fire. I'd often start hipfiring, land a few shots and then ADS afterwards to finish players off. I don't think this gun will be to everyone's taste though. I think a lot of people are still going to enjoy the rate of fire improvement of the Suomi, or maybe the accuracy of the MP34. Or you've just got that massive extended mag for the Thompson. There are plenty of guns that suit different styles, and while the Type 100 doesn't have an extended magazine option, it's definitely overall a good and fun SMG to use. It doesn't offer up anything spectacular or anything that you haven't already experienced from other guns in the game, but I enjoyed using it nonetheless. And in terms of the specs that I went for, I opted for right and then left all of the way. This gave me quick aim, which, as you know, I always go for, and it makes targeting enemies much faster, especially when on the move with a gun like this. It actually lets you aim down the sight 33% faster. And then the next two specs on the left hand side offer up improvements to hipfire, which I personally favoured for my setup. The first one gives you better hipfire accuracy thanks to enhanced grips, and then polished action reduces the hipfire penalty, allowing you to hipfire for longer. Last of all, I chose to go for the less vertical recoil option, which I wouldn't normally, but the alternative was improved accuracy when stationary, and because I'm a very mobile player and I run and gun a lot, especially with an SMG, I just went for the vertical recoil option instead. If you do opt for the right hand side specs though, you'll gain benefits to the aimed accuracy for the most part, so it really just depends on your personal preference and how you want to play. Overall, the Type 100, I think it's very similar to the Grand in the sense that there are probably other weapons that people will lean towards in terms of their stats, and yet these new guns are still really fun to use. They aren't hugely unique or top of their field, so to speak, and yet you can use them to great effect and have a lot of fun with them. All in all, I think people will have fun with this gun, and more importantly, like I said, you don't need to work to unlock it. It's just out there straight away, and I kind of like that. I'm sure that more weapons will release during Tides of War over the next few months or so, and we'll have to unlock them manually with assignments again, but it's just nice to be given a bunch of weapons to use every now and again. With that said, that's all for today. Do let me know your thoughts on the Type 100 down in the comments below. If you liked the video, leave a like. If you didn't, a dislike, subscribe for more, and I'll see you in the next one.